From downtown Decatur, it's the Faber Files. Hello, I'm your host, Bill Faber. Because democracy demands debate, we present this program of ideas and issues of the Decatur community. Nowhere else on TV, radio, or really in the newspaper does a citizen get a chance to fully express their opinions and views about compelling issues that face our community. Tonight's guest is Tony Clark, candidate for the Decatur Park Board. Welcome to the Faber Files, Tony.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're running for the Decatur Park Board, and it's your second run.
Third
run. Tell us a little bit about your background, Tony.
I grew up in Decatur. I've got 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, and 7 granddaughters. I've lived in Houston and Galveston and Springfield and various other places. And before I was a pipe fitter, which I retired from, I sold jewelry for Zales Jewelers, and they're one of the world's largest diamond retailers. So I've got some management experience, and then I retired from the pipe fitters after 30 years.
Yeah. Local 65.
Local 65.
Out at Mountain Road.
They are a high quality, well thought of organization around an area. Anywhere that our members travel are usually considered really good workers and hands. So I'm proud of them.
What is your interest in the Decatur Park Board? Obviously you're very interested in the issues. It's your 3rd run. You ran the first time about 19 years ago.
Yeah.
And now you're back in the game.
Right. Well, the first 2 times I ran, I ended up working out of town or nights, so I wasn't able to get out and talk to people, and I was unable to do any real campaigning. The second time, I don't remember who I was running against, but I was gone almost the entire time, about 3 hours from Decatur, so it was hard for me to do any campaigning for the board.
Well, it takes real dedication to come up to the plate the 3rd time. What compels you to come up here in 2011?
I feel like the park board is neglecting the issue that they were designed to fulfill.
Which is?
Well, I've got their motto written down. It's to develop and preserve the natural resources of the area and develop health and well-being of the citizens, of the community, through recreational experiences. And the recreational experiences are deteriorating badly, as well as the parks themselves.
Let's talk about that. When you say that the recreation facilities or opportunities are deteriorating, be specific. What are you referring to?
If you go visit your neighborhood parks, if you grew up in Decatur, they don't resemble anything that they used to be. I grew up inside the park system, and I've been told advancement isn't the same as what it used to be. It's all new technology, it's up to date. But the park that I grew up in, about 2/3 of the items that were available for kids at the time aren't there anymore.
We're talking about Lions Park?
Lions Park. Lions Park used to have a ball diamond, used to have a tennis court, used to have a tot lot, used to have a splash area in the summer for little kids to go out and play in the water and sprinklers. The concession stand used to be open. The drinking fountain was functional. I had a daughter that was there, and she said if you sucked on the top of the pipe, you could get some water as it trickled over the edge.
For those who don't know, where is Lions Park located?
Lions Park's about 2 blocks from Nelson Golf Course. It's on 20th Street and Lawrence, or Decatur Street. It's between the 2 blocks.
So today, if you brought your son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter over to Lions Park, you would not find tennis courts or ball diamond or a working drinking fountain. Is that right?
Right, and the bathroom, that's iffy. It may or may not be working, and if it's working, it probably won't be unlocked.
So why has the Park District allowed such a park to go from being a premier location to being deteriorated like you've described?
That's my biggest question. I think that they're getting too involved in too many different areas. Jerryman started the Decatur Summer Park Singers. And that was a good thing, and they used to go to all the parks, and they were a Decatur group. Now I think they spend as much time outside of Decatur as they do inside Decatur. Not too long ago, I think they performed on board a ship or overseas. That's a nice thing, but I think that the money needs to be put in the parks, and they need to be taken care of for the taxpayers that live and work in the community, as well as have children to play at the neighborhood parks.
Now, you've described the mission statement of the Decatur Park District. How does the operation of the airport fit in with that mission statement in your view?
It's all green grass around the runways. I really don't understand how the park district owning the airport and the ability to provide recreational services co-mingle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity for the Decatur to have the park or the airport, and it's basically the runways and some of the facilities are maintained real well, but as was posted in the newspaper, they need $1.5 million worth of work on the facility out there. And they're in the middle of putting up an 8-foot tall fence around it for protection. I really not sure that Decatur Park District needs to own the airport, but they do, and it brings in a lot of grant money, so it helps the community.
A generation ago, the Decatur Park District was held up as a model for all other communities in America to emulate. Playtown USA was a documentary presented. Talk about that, Tony.
In the early 50s, the federal government or one of the Department of Interior or someone came in and they did a film study emulating and showing what a true park system was like, what all amenities could be, how it was well taken care of, the things, the offerings to the community that paid for it, all of the good qualities that you could have in a park system were here. And I don't think that they would ever consider filming that here today.
There's a large controversy, a big issue facing the Decatur community and the Park District, namely the redevelopment or reconfiguration of the lakefront area. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree with part of what they're doing. I think that if they develop a safe walking bike path that encompasses the basin there at Nelson Park, and it would connect Scoville and Chandler Park, I think that would be a wonderful thing, and the majority of the people in Decatur are looking forward to that becoming a factor. The opening a water park owned by the Park District is a really great idea. I wish they would have reopened the pool, but it was going to cost $250,000, I think was the last estimate that I heard, to fix the pool, but they didn't have the money for that. Now they're looking at building a multi-million-dollar facility, and what will suffer because if they didn't have the money then, times have gotten tougher. Where are they going to get it, and how it's going to be paid for?
Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on water recreation over in the Nelson Park area?
I like the idea of a water park or a pool or something of that nature. I think if they build a water park, the best location might be Chandler Park, where they're intending to put in private housing, and they're intending to lease the property, which means that that will no longer be Park District property other than in ownership.
So do I hear you saying that you're opposed to any housing development in the new configuration?
Yes, I am. I think that if the whole purpose behind having a park district and a park board and recreational facilities is just that, for recreational improvement or value to the community, not for the convenience of someone buying or leasing prime real estate that's owned by the public.
I think what I hear you saying is that the Decatur Park District's mission, which is for recreation, does not fit with the idea of leasing or rental properties.
In my opinion, the Park District has moved away from their mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy Diedrich was quoted in the paper the other day of saying, we're not just a park and recreation anymore, we also take care of community needs. Well, there's lots of things that the Park District does that there are other public or private bodies that take care of. There's the Arts Council, there's Community Economic Development, there's I'm having trouble remembering the name of the
May I interrupt you for just a moment? You've mentioned to our viewers Cindy, who was with the Decatur Park Board. What is her position? So for folks who may not know.
She is currently, I believe, just one of the park board members.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Kenny is also a park board member, and then Don Louie and Chris Riley are the president and vice president of the park board.
In speaking of the housing development that's proposed in the Chandler Park area, I think you mentioned to me before we began our program, you looked at the Facebook opinions with regard to this development. What did you find in that research?
I've tried to keep an eye on what was supposed to be coming from the Park District, and it's supposed to be where you can find out how the public feels. Well, I have several comments on that page in the different categories, but I find very little information from other people. There's a little bit of information. By and large, there's been very little posted about housing in the park, but when I was collecting my signatures to run for the position, I didn't run into anyone that was in favor of housing in the parks.
Mm-hmm. I would say from my from what I've heard around the community, that those who are in real estate development, the Chamber of Commerce leadership, the business interests are very much behind a housing development as part of the reconfiguration of the lakefront.
There is a lot of interest in that because they think that it'll bring in tax dollars, and everyone knows that we're needing more dollars in our coffers. Mm-hmm. The city has laid off and cut hours at the library and other things, and they'll be paying taxes collecting taxes to pay towards this development as well. They're doing it in league with the Park District, and I believe the Chamber of Commerce is involved as well.
So they're looking at it as a revenue enhancement opportunity?
Right. I believe it's more of an economic development and not so much recreational development.
And what you're suggesting to the public is that the Park District must keep its eye on the ball.
I would like them to get their eye back on the ball.
Get their eye back on the ball.
I think they've lost their point.
Once I heard an environmental planner say that one of the problems with planning, city planning, area planning, regional planning, is that it's not long-term enough, that we as planners, as citizens today, have a responsibility to our grandchildren and great-grandchildren to look out 200 years and envision how this plan that we propose and enact today is going to affect our descendants 200 years down the road. What do you think about that?
That's one of the reasons I'm against development of the property. That's the last public access area in the city. Once it's developed, it can never be brought back to natural resources. Some people see a big green area as, I could build something there, I should build something there. Others see it as a place of nature that needs to be preserved.
You know, Chicago is often criticized, but one of the great things that it did as a young city was when Burnham put together the lakefront park plan and planned for park districts and green spaces and preservation of the lakeshore, 150 years ago, because if they hadn't done that, those would be all skyscrapers.
I agree. And what would happen if developers would move in and develop Central Park? What would happen to the city? What would their reaction be?
So is it your feeling that the present park board and your opponent really stand for a plan that misses the mark in terms of what the park board's mission is?
I think that the park board is moving way off of the mark. They are looking for economic development. One of their considerations, from what I read in their minutes, is they're considering cutting back or doing away with golf tournaments and tennis tournaments because the revenue stream is not there. The park board may not be getting the revenue stream, but if they're using it as an economic development, the rest of the city, businesses and the Chamber of Commerce, have got to be making lots of money. When the IHSA girls golf tournament was in town, there was over 700 hotel rooms booked. That has to be lots of money in food and beverages, as well as rooms and transportation.
As you may know, Tony, that I have an interest in horses and horseback riding. What's your position about the operation of the Big Creek Stables?
I have a niece that has a POA, and they grew up in the POAs and rode out at Big Creek.
Ponies of America.
Right, Ponies of America, and they've been out there for years. And to my understanding, they won't be back next year because of the facilities out at Big Creek and the way that they've been handled and the pressures that they've been put under. I've heard off and on different stories about Big Creek, but I'm not as familiar with that as other parts of the programs.
If we can move back to the lakefront development, which seems to be the compelling issue to the community today, what other thoughts or ideas or criticisms do you have as you look forward?
Well, I like the idea of developing some of the area into bike paths or walking paths, things of that nature. I would like to see 9 holes of golf brought back, because that was a place where slower, more mature players would go out and be comfortable playing, where you would be comfortable taking your son or your daughter out to learn, and it was relatively inexpensive, and you could make a leisure day of golf. Now if they go out and play the 3 remaining courses, there's a great amount of pressure from the other players to get this slow-moving individual. This isn't a place to learn how to play golf. This is a place to play golf, move along or go home. And that's not good for the game of golf or for the residents. A lot of residents have stopped playing the city courses and gone to the exterior because there's lots of golf courses in the area.
What are your thoughts about the tax levy and the funds that get attributed to the Park District?
Well, they're about to borrow a little, or not borrow, but get bonds for a little over $8 million worth of items, or money, for items that pertain to the airport, to the general obligation or running of the Park District, and $2 to $4 million of it will be to be starter money for the lakefront project, which they intend to start this year. The financing of it, the city said they're not going to raise tax rates to pay for this. But I didn't hear the park board say that when I was at the last meeting. And so I don't know if the city is speaking for both or not. I know that there's going to be a 2 to 3% increase if they pass the increases on that they're talking about for golf, and a quarter per person or whatever at the zoo. And they're going to spend, or presumed to spend $750 million or $1,000 for a penguin exhibit, and they only have currently $40,000 of that. So there'll be a lot of money going to bring penguins to the city.
And your thoughts on that?
It's nice to have a zoo, but how big does a zoo have to be? And how bad do the parks have to be before you turn your attention to the inner city parks and the things that have been around for years and years?
How would you propose reinvigorating the local neighborhood parks?
I would like to see them put in programs that keep the kids busy, entertained, give them physical exercise as well as mental. There used to be morning ball teams just made up of neighborhood kids that would get together, and a parent from the area would come out and coach, and you'd learn how to play baseball or soccer or whatever, and they'd play other teams from other parks in the area. Nothing major, no uniforms, came in your t-shirts and your scruffy jeans and tennis shoes and an old glove and a bat, and you're ready to go. I'd like to, and the programs that they had back then were much more involved with the park directors. When my daughters, two of which were park directors, there was very little activity for the kids. One of the parks that one of my daughters was in, they got a tetherball, but there was no tetherball pole. Tennis courts have been torn up. Basketball courts are down to some ratty nets and some busted concrete maybe. Ball diamonds are not in use or gone. There's just lots of facilities that are not what they used to be or should be.
Why is that? Why is the park district allowed that to happen?
I think it comes back to where they've taken their eye off the ball and they want new development. The new bike path and trails, walking trails that they've got running through the city, those are rather expensive. And I think the money for those may be coming from the facilities budget. I'm not sure where it's coming
I
from.
think a lot of it does come from grant money, Tony, as I understand it.
A lot of it does, but I don't think it's all covered. And once it's built, you've got to maintain that. And if you're maintaining that with a limited budget, you're not maintaining something else.
What are your thoughts about the operation of the disc at Milliken?
Well, when they built the disc,
We're talking about the Decatur Indoor
Sports Center at Milliken. The facility is nice. When they decided to build it, they decided that when they first published it, that they said how much it was going to cost. They didn't know where it would be located. The Rotary Park, which is the ball diamond complex and was supposed to have soccer fields, was supposed to be right next door to the indoor sports center so that it could be used inside or out right there, so that it would put everything together. Well, in the outside, it's 5.5 miles or so away from the side of the building.
Rotary Park ball fields are 5 miles away.
Right.
Tony, I've been given the sign that we've run out of time. It's been a very, very informative and interesting conversation, and I admire your third run, and good luck with your campaign.
I appreciate it, and I hope that we can get people out to vote on April 5th.